Do not target children. Oh, wait a second, you're offended by that? Well, maybe you're a chomo if you take such offense to that. But hey, if you're not offended, then good on you. You have enough common sense to know that targeting children is bad. Now that we got that intro out of the way, let me actually explain what is going on. So all of this really kicked off when Activision Blizzard had actually punished Nickmercs, a streamer, for, well, look at this yourself. Yeah. Activision Blizzard had actually removed a bundle that was made for him, from my understanding, for this tweet. What actually is screwed up is, despite all of the problems surrounding Activision Blizzard, from the frat boy culture to sexual assaults and harassments to even causing an employee to unalive herself, Activision Blizzard wants to virtue signal for the LGBTQ community, yet they can't even double down on their ideals in the Middle East, where you can actually get into legal trouble for being a part of the LGBTQ plus community. Then you have Tim the Tatman tweeting this out in solidarity towards Nickmercs. So let me ask a question. When is everyone going to actually wake up and realize that they shouldn't be targeting children to indoctrinate them into very strong and nuanced ideologies? Since when was it wrong for a parent to want to know what their child is learning at school? You know what? Back when I was in school, before we were even taught about things like puberty, sexual education, etc., we actually had to get our parents to sign consent forms in order for us to attend classes like that. This was the standard for everything that dealt with sex, at least back in my day. Where and how is it wrong for a parent to want to know and have concerns about what their kids learn in schools? Last I checked, the fucking taxes used to run said schools come from the parents. Let me tell you this, you need to exercise care and knowledge when it comes to these subjects. If a kid is old and mature enough to learn about these topics, then it should be done in a non-aggressive and non-confusing way. It should also be optional, much like how sex ed was back in my day. You didn't have to stick around in those classes either if you were actually uncomfortable. You had sensitive and nuanced topics being taught carefully back then. Subjects like these should never be haphazardly thrown around with no clear direction, or if it's done in a manipulative and aggressive way. Now, with all that said so far, I'm going to be showing you guys some pretty choice things from the Twitter account known as Libs of TikTok, an account that has shown time and time again that the LGBTQ plus community do have issues when it comes to very, we'll say, creep-like behavior.
I want to clarify this for a second here. I'm not saying that kink isn't kid-friendly. I'm saying that kids and kink can coexist at Pride in a totally fine way. There's a nuance here. That making an event kid-friendly doesn't mean sanitizing it, aka taking something like kink out of Pride. Making Pride kid-friendly is not the same thing as sanitizing Pride. Making a Pride event kid-friendly, or I prefer kid-safe, is about making sure we're including and putting kid and youth voices and including them in Pride and particularly any justice spaces. Kids and youth voices are vital to justice movements because they are a vulnerable and marginalized group on their own, which includes their intersecting identities and oppressions. So I'm not saying that kink isn't appropriate for kids. I'm saying they can and should coexist with each other.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I am a lifelong North Carolinian. I've been in Wake County for most of my life and received my middle and high school education right here in Wake County Public Schools. I'm here today to express my concern about the priority of academic advancement and our need to invest more resources in the right places and less in the wrong places. This particular book is called Queer, the Ultimate LGBTQ Guide for Teens, and is in high schools throughout Wake County. I'll read some of it for you. Just as there are many different types of relationships, there are a gazillion ways to have sex. Not all gay men have anal sex, nor do all lesbians like oral sex. Not all trans guys wear dildos. It's a rainbow, darling. You'll need to figure out for yourself what you like at some point. Have patience with yourself and get plenty of practice to enjoy sex. Don't worry, very few people will turn down the opportunity for more practice. It talks about touching and rubbing. Genital stimulation can come from any part of the body. You can use your hand or hips or feet, or you can rub your private parts on someone's thigh, arm, genitals, butt, and ankles. You may stroke his penis, insert fingers into his anus, or insert fingers into her vagina. It goes on to talk about anal sex. This can involve penetration with the penis, fingers, or a sex toy. For care of the sex toy, it talks about the anus has lots of bacteria. When spread elsewhere, it can cause problems. If you're going to use a sex toy for anal penetration, be sure to use one that is silicone as long as it doesn't have electrical components. Just boil it for 5 minutes and run it through the dishwasher. Penetrating the anus with a foreign object like food can be dangerous. Can be dangerous. So don't think about it, even if it seems like a good idea at the time. Exploration is a big part of sex. You might find that you're into some weird stuff. Although if you only knew how many people were into weird stuff, you'd realize it's not so weird. Some people like to role play, dress up like animals, tie each other up, wear leather and high heels. Hey, whatever makes your toes tingle. There's no reason to be judgmental about consensual sex. It also goes on to talk about monogamy, that some people like to be with one partner, some like to have others. Either option is okay. I think it's easy to see that this book is of concern. This book is not informational, it's instructional. It's an all-out endorsement and encouragement and playbook on how to discover the rainbow. In other words, to be promiscuous. This book sends the readers, which in our context are teenagers, on a journey to be promiscuous and to explore all kinds of sex. And let's face it, we're talking about teens. If they're exploring their sexuality in such a intense way, they're not studying. They're not preparing for their futures. Let me ask you a familiar question. Is this for a grade? Will this be on the SAT or the PSAT or college entrance exams? Let's go back to being a school.
Keep in mind, these 4 instances that I have shown, that doesn't even begin to skim the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what is truly being exposed. So that right there is just an entry fee. Then you have some out there who I won't be naming out or sharing due to the fact I don't want them to be harassed, that effectively say that the LGBTQ plus doesn't have a chomo problem or a grooming problem. This unfortunately hurts the LGBTQ plus a lot more than it helps. Actively ignoring these issues or sweeping them under the rug will damage the community in a very permanent way. Hell, as it is, there are communities within the LGBTQ community that are cannibalizing each other. Straight up, it has gotten to the point that the community is very much fractured. And it's heartbreaking because as someone who is an ally of LGBTQ, this is something that is not easy to talk about. I have held off for as long as I can remember before enough was enough. I had to speak out about this because this right here is something that is not okay. This right here is something that needs to be nipped in the bud. And this right here is something that all of us need to come together and acknowledge the fact that there are issues and they need to be addressed and not ignored. It just absolutely pisses me off that we're at the point now where there are maps, i.e. minor attracted people, that try to find ways to gain acceptance in the LGBTQ community. And here's the thing as well, is that while right now the LGBTQ community is very much non-accepting of that, and thank God for that, it's going to get to a point where the MAPS community, the sub-community, is going to potentially attract more like-minded individuals and either try to force their way in LGBTQ, or it's going to get to a point where it's just going to be too numerical to challenge those ideals, and they are going to be accepted in the LGBTQ community. And let me tell you something, the day that pedophilia gets accepted in LGBTQ community, which God forbid, I really hope that doesn't happen, but if it does, then I 150% renounce my allyship with a community that accepts pedophiles into their fold. Now, what we have here comes from the Twitter account Gays Against Groomers, just from their pinned tweet. Take a look at this.
There is no pride in indoctrinating children in schools.
There is no pride in stripping parents of their right to protect their children.
There is no pride in sexualizing children at drag shows.
There is no pride in mutilating and sterilizing children in the name of gender-affirming care.
This June, what are you proud of? Because we have some issues that we need to talk about.
We're fighting back from inside the community. Join gays against groomers in the battle against radical gender ideology that is destroying our youth.
Ladies and gentlemen, I say at this point it's pretty damn fair to say that we are at a critical juncture and that the community is very much fractured, which is really damn unfortunate. Look, I have nothing but the utmost love and acceptance for the LGBTQ community, as I believe anyone should love each other as long as everyone is consenting adults and is not harming anyone. So when I see stuff like this taking place, it makes me feel really, really disgusted. It makes me have mixed feelings about the community, but simply put, we can't just ignore the problems that the community has. Otherwise, it will get a lot worse in the future if this does not get rectified ASAP. And here's a little personal fact about me. At my job, I have a wide variety of coworkers, and two of my coworkers happens to be a lesbian couple, and they are beautiful, wonderful people, and I love hanging out with them because they are really nice individuals. Point is, they are a part of LGBTQ, and there are a lot of other people that I know that are a part of LGBTQ, and they're all wonderful, beautiful people that just want to live life and just want to be accepted. And there is a reason that I hardly speak about these topics, because I know how sensitive and how nuanced these topics are. So I really, really try to be careful with my words, because even if you word things as clear and as concise and as best as possible, you are going to have those special individuals out there that will try to create a false context and try to twist your words around and make it seem like that you said something else when you didn't even come close to saying that type of statement. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we are just going to have to wait and see how things go. I especially cannot get over the fact that a simple take that Nickmercs had, and this is coming from somebody that is not a Nickmercs fan, but he made a take not out of a place of bigotry, but out of a place of parenthood. He made a simple, non-inflammatory take, and almost immediately, Activision Blizzard springs into action with some virtue signaling, dishonest bullshit in an attempt to try and cater to the LGBTQ community. But let me tell you something there, Activision Blizzard, is that this is going to horribly backfire if it hasn't already. And I'm going to tell you something else, is that this right here comes off as extremely disingenuous. This right here comes off as nothing more than a grift and as a sad attempt to virtue signal and pander to a community because it's literally flavor of the month, aka Pride Month. You didn't do this out of a genuine heart at all, Activision Blizzard. You fucking pieces of shit. As far as I'm concerned, Activision Blizzard, you guys can all shut your fucking mouths. But with that being said, guys, that's it here for this video. I got a little bit heated, and understandably so, I think, because this is a very sensitive and hot button topic. But with that being said, guys, I am always open to hear out what it is that you guys have to say, regardless of how tame or how heated the topic is. But with that being said, guys, that's it here for the video. Thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you for your time as well in viewing this video. Have yourself a damn good one, you beautiful people. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, be a good example, okay? I'll see you guys next time.